What's up, everyone? I've been getting a lot of questions about Discord and coding and Python, and I know a lot of you out there would like to create your own version of a bot. You just don't know how or where to get started. That's what this video is for. It's to help you learn how to get started from the very basic level on what to do as far as a Discord bot is concerned. So if this is something that interests you, I'm going to be going through the entire process from installation of Anaconda and Python and Visual Studio Code to how to create your bot and implement everything needed to get it running and in your server. So this video will go over all of that, and then I'll get into more complex topics later on down the road. But I just wanted to make sure I get this introductory video out because it seems like a lot of people get stuck on a few areas that I'm going to be covering in this video. So let's go ahead and get started. And again, this video will be covering installation of Python, installation of Anaconda, and creating your Discord bot and how to get it coded. First, you may ask yourself, why would I want to create a Discord bot? A lot of you already know why, but if you're someone out there that doesn't get it or maybe doesn't understand the use case for something like this, there is tons and tons and tons of useful things that can be done with the Discord bot. Just to name a few, you have automated data collection, stock market data analysis if you'd like to trade in the markets, especially when it comes to markets, because the financial data out there has seen a explosion of quality and it's always evolving. So definitely good for that. If you want to build your own custom search engines, Discord bot commands, model creation, testing, machine learning, image generation, text summarization, RSS feeds, which deliver things like news updates and SEC filings, rule filings, important updates out of Congress, the media, what have you. It creates a situation where you're getting a lot of stuff, a lot of data at minimal effort because it's all done asynchronously or done via object-oriented programming, which is what Python is. So this is going to be specific to Python, and let's get started. So if you don't have Python already, you're going to want to go to python.com, or maybe it's .org. I'll put the link in the description, and make sure you download the latest version of Python. When you're installing it, and everything that I'm going over here as far as installation, just use the default installation and you won't have to worry about anything else. Should be able to go through with default installation progress and everything should work fine. So you want to get Python, and then after you got Python downloaded, you're going to want to go ahead and get Anaconda. This is what's going to be running your virtual environment that will be hosting your bot. And in my experience, a lot of people run into problems when trying to create their environment via the command prompt. If you'd rather do it that way and you know that it works on your machine, then you can just get virtual env on the command prompt and install your environment that way. But for the easier way, just go ahead and get Anaconda, download it, install it with the default installation. And lastly, you're going to want to get Visual Studio Code. Obviously, you can use any editor that is best for you. This is going to be the specific one that I'm going over in this tutorial. So if you want to follow along verbatim, then you're going to want to get Visual Studio Code, a stable build that's on their website. And I will link all of this below as well so you can have access to that. But once you got all that downloaded and installed, it'd probably be a good idea to restart your computer. And once you do that, then the first thing you're going to do once the computer restarts is go ahead and open up Anaconda. If you search for it in your programs, you'll see it's called Anaconda Navigator. Click that. Once you click that, this is what it's going to look like after it loads. You're going to want to go ahead and click the Environments tab here. And once you click that, the screen will change over to this. Now, your screen is going to look a bit different. I have a lot of different environments here that I've created. This is your environment list. You're only most likely going to see base root if this is the first time you've used Anaconda. If you've obviously used Anaconda in the past, you're going to see any other environments that you've created. But basically, what you do is you come down to the bottom, hit Create, and you're going to see a pop-up window show up just like this. Give your project environment a name. Just make sure it's one that you remember. And select Python 3.10.8, and then go ahead and hit Create. Once you do that, you're going to see your newly created environment show up on that list underneath the base root. And once that happens, go ahead and click on it, which will load that environment up in Anaconda. And once the play button becomes lit up where you can click it, you're going to want to click it and then select Open Terminal. That will open up your terminal for this specific environment in the Anaconda terminal. Once you open it up, you're going to want to go ahead and just type pip or pip and then hit enter just to make sure that you get some kind of response and no error. If you have an error, I'm going to make a video on what to do in that situation, but it should work if you installed everything so far with the default installation and you created your environment just like I showed you, and then you type pip. It should work just fine. So verify that it works with pip. Then after that, you're going to want to go ahead and install requests and the disnake library. And to do that, it's very simple. Just type pip space install space requests for the requests library. And then for disnake, which is the module we're going to be using for our Discord bot, is pip space install space disnake, and then hit enter. And it will install both of those packages into your environment that you created. Once you've got those two things installed, now you can go to your desktop or any other area on your computer that you'll remember and create your new project file. This is where we're going to be storing all of the files for the bot itself. Give it a name, whatever you'd like, and then make sure you remember where that is, because that's where we're going to need to be in a second to load up our environment and start our bot. So I chose the desktop just because it's easy to remember, and I named my folder My Discord Project. Next, open up Visual Studio Code, and then the first thing you're going to want to do is click on the left-hand side over here on the Extensions button. And this is where you're going to go and install the extension Python for VS Code. So make sure you do that, or you'll likely run into a lot of issues. Just go to the extension button that I showed you a second ago, type in Python, and then install the first one that you see, Python IntelliSense Pylance. And once that's installed, we're almost there. You're going to want to open the folder that you just created on your desktop. Remember, I named mine My New Project, and we're going to go ahead and open that, at which point your screen is going to look just like this. And this arrow here is pointing to the confirmation that you are indeed inside of your new project, My Discord Project. And there should be no files in here. It should just be blank. And we're almost done. Create two files. So back up there where that arrow is pointing, there's three little symbols. You have a plus symbol for a file, a plus symbol for a folder, and then a refresh symbol. Go ahead and click the plus file symbol. You're going to create two files. You're going to name one of them config.py, and the second one's going to be named main.py. So it should look something like this whenever you're done. Main and config.py, your two files. Once you've done that, look to the bottom right of your VS Code window. It's at the very, very bottom right, and this is pretty important. You're going to need to select the interpreter for your code, which is the environment that we just created in Anaconda. So whatever your environment name was that you just created, go ahead and click it. Obviously, yours is going to look different than mine does here because I have several environments. You should only see that root and the one that you just created in here if this is the first time that you're doing this. So make sure you select the new environment that you created. And once you do that, now we're basically all set. You should see this on your screen. You should have main, config, two tabs, two files. Your interpreter should be selected, and we're good to go. Now we can go ahead and type our first two lines of code in main.py, which is going to be simply import disnake, and then underneath that in line 2, we're going to do from disnake.ext import commands. This is going to be the extension that we're going to be using for a lot of our Discord bot commands. So simple enough. And if you're new to Python, syntax is very important. So make sure when you're typing this stuff out that you do the proper syntax. Force space is typically the standard, and I'll show you in a second how it's formatted. After you've got those first two lines of code typed out in your main file, go ahead and click over to the config.py file and type token equals and then put two quotes with nothing in them. We're going to use this later for our bot's token, which is how we get authentication to Discord servers. So to reiterate real quick, main file, just have two files so far, or two lines of code so far. Import disnake, the library that we're going to be using for our Discord bot. And then within that library, we're importing the commands for the commands themselves. And then in the config.py file, we just typed token equals and then two quotations with nothing in between them. Okay, so part 2, creating the bot itself. So you've done everything you needed to do on the VS Code Python side and installation side. Now we're going to create the bot itself. And to do that, we're going to head over to the Discord Developer Portal website. And this is what it looks like upon visiting. After you come to this point, you're going to click on Applications up here at the top, at which point you will create a new application. Once you've created a new application, give it a name, of course. And then you will see a screen that looks like this. You don't have to give it a description or an image, but you can if you want to. If you want to customize it, give it a name, image, go ahead and do that. Then from here, what we do is we go ahead and we click on the Bot tab right here. It has a puzzle piece on it. Click Bot. This is where we add the bot. So click the Add Bot button, which will say a wild bot has appeared on the following screen, and then you have your Discord bot itself. Now, this button right here, you're going to want to go ahead and click that and reset your token, which will display your bot's token that we're going to be using to actually log in to Discord. So make sure you copy this and then immediately take this token over to that config file that you made and paste it in between those two quotations, and then that's it. You're done with your config.py file. Your token's stored as a variable now so that it cannot be seen in the code itself. It's for protective reasons. And from there, we don't have much left. So the next thing to do is after you've pasted that code into the config.py file, you're going to want to go back to the developer portal website and make sure a few things are correct. If you want your bot to be privated, make sure that the public bot trigger here is turned off and not on. And then from here, this is the most important part that I think the most people get caught up on is the intents. So this is a recent addition from Discord. They now require your bot to come in here and make sure that you have the privileged gateway intent set to allow you to do things like send messages, have a presence intents, or read messages, things like that. Things you're definitely going to want to have on from a developer standpoint. So make sure that after you get your token and save it, that you come back to that page, scroll down, and make sure these three intents are turned on. That is a crucial step. Must have these three on. Save the changes. And then we're going to add our bot now. So once you've done all that, you save the changes to your intents, which again, that was in the bot section. Then you're going to go and click on the OAuth 2 section. From here, go to URL generator, and then we're going to give our bot some scopes. And the scopes that you pick are bot and application.commands, just those two. Click them, and then scroll down and give it the administrator permission. If the server is yours and you have rights to this, then administrator is fine. If it's not your server and it's someone else's server you're trying to add the bot to, I doubt they'll give you administrator permissions. So you may want to check the specific permissions that you that would be okay, like send messages, create public threads, embed links, attach files, things like that. But for simplicity's sake and the sake of this tutorial, we're just going to go ahead with administrator, because I imagine that most of you out there are going to be adding bots to your own server. So once you click administrator, then a URL will appear at the bottom. Simply copy that URL by clicking the copy button. And from there, take this URL and paste it in your web browser in a new window, and then hit enter. This will take you to this site here that will allow you to add to a server. You're going to only be able to add it to servers that you own or have rights to. So from this drop-down menu, you should see your server. Then you'll hit continue, and then you will hit authorize, and your bot will now be authorized and should be in your server. So you want to make sure that the bot got added by going to your Discord server and checking your channels to make sure the bot actually has joined the server. So it'll look something like that. And we have confirmation the bot is in the server. Now from here, we're ready to code. But a few more things. Head back over to VS Code and select the main.py file. We're going to need to import that token that we created in the config.py file. So to do that, simply just type from config import token. And then we're also going to need to enable the intents that we just selected on the developer portal. We're going to need to identify that in our code. And to do that, we type intents equals disnake.Intents.all with the closing or with the parentheses after the all. And that is to let you know that it is a function. So now we have our intents defined, we have our token imported from our config file, we have our main library imported, and we have our extension for the commands imported. That's all that's needed at the top of your file. From here, we're going to add just a few more lines. Now, if this confuses you, don't worry, this will work. I will explain what it means later on, but basically we're going to create a class that instantiates the bot and defines a few things within it, like the command prefix and the intents that we set up here. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a class MyBot, and we're going to use commands.Bot inside the parentheses with a capital B. You're going to want to make sure you put your colon at the end of that, and then you can follow along and type out the code here as you see it on the screen. We're defining and initializing the bot using self, command prefix, and intents. And then we're doing a super init, and we're defining the command prefix. I set mine as 2 greater than signs. You can set yours to whatever. If you want to do 1 exclamation point, that is totally an option. And then intents equals intents, which we defined up here. Then the next little function here is a onReady function that all it does is whenever the bot is run initially, it's going to print a message to the terminal that tells us the bot is online. And again, this class here is just initializing the client side and the server side bot. It's a cool little trick that actually allows you to use both client side and bot side functions like the on-raw message create event, things like that we'll get into later. So this is just a good way to implement your bot from the get-go in my experience. Now, there is an easier way to do it. So if you didn't want to do the whole class thing, if it's confusing you and you just want to do the bot, you can forego this entire middle section here and just do bot equals MyBot, command prefix, intents equals disnake.Intents.all if you want to just do that. But this is the most optimal way to do it, in my opinion, for what we're going to be doing later on. Then after you get all this typed out, the very last thing you do at the very bottom is type bot.run token. And remember, we're referencing token, which we created in the config file, which we imported. So that's basically all you need to get the bot running. From here, we're going to make our first command. And to do that, make sure that the decorator here with the @ symbol is all the way to the far left. We're going to do @bot.command with parentheses, async def hi with context, colon, and then we're going to do await context.send, and then in quotes, the message. And that's the message that will be sent to Discord. If you want to pause this and just copy this verbatim, you can. I'll also leave this code down below in the description as well, so you can just copy and paste it if you would like. And the command works. How about that? But yeah, you've got your bot created, you've got your stuff installed, you've got your bot in your server, and you actually have a working command now. So, titties jacked. Hope this helped. Next, we will start making some pretty cool commands, go into more depth on different libraries and things like that, and show you just how much fun and use cases you can have with Discord bots.